She was sold by her parents like an object, abandoned, voiceless, forgotten. But one man, a quiet mechanic with no plans to be a father, opened his door and changed her life forever. What happened next? No one saw it coming. Jason Miller wasn't broken down at least, that's what he told himself. He lived in a quiet town in Michigan, drove an old Ford truck, worked long hours at the auto shop. His home? A small apartment above his garage. Just one coffee mug, one blanket, one toothbrush, but that's how he liked it. Simple, quiet, predictable, no chaos, no people, no love ever since his wife left 5 years ago. He avoided anything that reminded him of the life he once dreamed of. Marriage? Never again. Children? Absolutely not. That he believed some men just weren't made for that life. But one Saturday afternoon, fate decided to prove him wrong. Jason was on his way to the junkyard when he saw it, a bright yellow sign on the orphanage gate. Clothing donations accepted today. He had a bag in the truck, old jeans, a few jackets, things from another life that he almost drove past. But something made him stop. Call it guilt, call it instinct. He walked inside, dropped the bag at the front desk, and that's when he saw her, that a little girl sitting alone. Tiny, still, hair unbrushed, shoes 2 sizes too big. Her name tag read, Mia, age 6. She wasn't crying, wasn't asking for help, wasn't even looking around, just staring at the wall. Jason asked the staff, "What's her story?" The response sent a chill down his spine. Her parents sold her for $50. We found her alone behind a dumpster, holding a broken stuffed rabbit. Jason stood there, frozen. He couldn't look away, because somewhere behind her silence, he saw something he hadn't seen in years. Himself. Jason left the orphanage. He told himself it wasn't his business. He wasn't a hero, that he wasn't a parent. But that night, something strange happened. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, Mia's expression appeared. Not sad, not scared, just empty, like someone who had already accepted that no one was coming and owed bedtime stories, and no one to tuck her in. Jason sat up, ran his hands through his hair, and whispered, "Damn it, why do I care?" The next morning, he drove back. That he didn't bring clothes, he didn't bring questions, just walked up to the desk and said, "I want to foster her." The woman blinked. "Are you family?" "No." "Have you fostered before?" "No." She stared at him, confused. But there was something in his voice that felt certain, not emotional, not reckless, just honest. That afternoon, Mia stepped into Jason's truck. She didn't speak, didn't smile, just clutch a rabbit tight. He didn't know what he was doing. He had no parenting books, an oat-decorated nursery. But for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. Jason cleared out the spare room, bought groceries, Googled how to talk to kids who don't talk. Mia didn't say a word. She ate little, slept curled into a ball. Jason cooked pancakes the next morning, burnt them. But Mia took a bite. Then another, still silent. But this time, she looked up. For 1 second, their eyes met. She didn't flinch, didn't turn away. Jason whispered, "It's okay. You don't have to say anything." He meant it, but inside he hoped that someday she would. A week later, Jason was in the garage, fixing an old transmission, cursing under his breath. Mia sat on the steps, just watching, same spot. Every day. This time, he dropped a wrench that it clanged against the floor, rolled near her feet. She picked it up, walked over, and without a word, placed it gently in his hand. He looked at her, smiled. She almost did too. In that moment, he realized she wasn't afraid of him. She was just waiting to see if she was safe. One night, Jason had a nightmare. He sat up, sweating, old memories of his ex screaming, packing bags, slamming the door. He walked to the kitchen. Found Mia there, holding her rabbit, just standing. He knelt beside her. "Bad dream?" he asked. She nodded. Then in the softest voice, so quiet he almost missed it, "I used to sleep in a closet. They said I wasn't allowed on the bed." Jason froze. He didn't know what to say. He didn't. He just opened his arms. And she walked right into them. 3 months later, Mia had a bedtime, a favorite cereal, that a worn-out hoodie she refused to take off. Jason had filed for adoption. The process was slow, but he was committed. Until one Tuesday morning, The doorbell rang. Two strangers at a man and woman, disheveled, bitter, loud. Mia's biological parents. They wanted her back, or more accurately, they wanted money. Threatened lawsuits. Called Jason a kidnapper. Jason stood his ground. But inside, he panicked. He wasn't her legal father yet, and they were technically her blood. The system didn't always protect the child. Sometimes it protected the wrong people. Jason hired a lawyer, collected every document, every letter from teachers, every photo of Mia smiling. He knew the court wouldn't care, that she was finally happy. They'd care about paperwork. Mia overheard everything. For the first time since moving in, she stopped talking again. One night, Jason sat beside her. "I won't let them take you," he said. But she just stared at the floor. "I'm not worth fighting for," she whispered. Jason's throat tightened. "You have no idea how wrong you are." The day of the hearing arrived. Jason was ready for battle. But Mia surprised everyone. When the judge asked her who she wanted to live with, she stood up, looked her biological parents in the eye, and then turned to Jason. "He's my real dad. He hugs me when I cry. He listens when I talk. They left me. He didn't want to stay with him. Please." Silence filled the room. Even the judge had to take a breath. For a long moment, the judge said nothing. He looked down at his papers, then back at Mia, then at Jason. The room was dead silent. Not even a cough. Not even a breath. Mia stood there, tiny, trembling, but brave, her hand now gripping Jason's sleeve. The judge leaned forward. "Mia, thank you for your honesty. That took courage most adults don't have." Then he turned to the lawyer representing her birth parents. "You had your chance. This child was abandoned. No support, no care. Mr. Miller, on the other hand, has provided consistent housing, nutrition, emotional security, and education." The gavel came down. Permanent guardianship is granted to Mr. Jason Miller. Effective immediately. Jason exhaled so hard it felt like the air had been knocked out of him. His hand shook. Mia looked up at him. He nodded. She smiled. Not a little one, a full, ear-to-ear, no holding back kind of smile. And in that courtroom, surrounded by strangers and scar tissue, Jason realized something. He didn't save her. They save each other. The courtroom doors closed behind them. But for Jason and Mia, it felt like they'd just opened something far more important. A new life. Jason didn't have much. No party. Planned. No decorations. But that night, they stopped at a little diner off the highway. Red booths. Greasy burgers. A jukebox that only played old country songs. Jason asked Mia what she wanted. "Anything," she said. He ordered 2 milkshakes. Extra whipped cream. A basket of fries the size of her face. The waitress smiled at them like she just knew, like she'd seen this kind of moment before. Mia pulled something from her backpack. Folded paper. Carefully written words. "I made this in school," she said. "Wasn't sure I'd ever get to give it to you." Jason opened it. It was a homemade card. Crayon letters. A drawing of the two of them. One tall figure. One small one. Holding hands. The top. It read, "Happy Adoption Day, Dad." Jason blinked back tears. He cleared his throat. Twice. Failed to say anything. Mia just smiled. She didn't need words. She could see it on his face. He was hers, and she was his. Becoming a father overnight sounds like a fairy tale, but real life, it's full of early alarms, forgotten lunches, and mismatched socks. Jason knew how to fix cars, not ponytails. He could rebuild an engine blindfolded. But the first time he tried helping Mia with homework, she had to correct him. Mornings were chaos. She hated scrambled eggs. He kept forgetting she liked them boiled. She wanted apples in her lunch. That he packed Doritos in a wrench by mistake once. But every mistake brought them closer to he. Learned her favorite bedtime book. She learned how to change oil. That he installed a nightlight. She drew hearts on Post-it notes and stuck them to his dashboard. They were figuring it out. Not perfectly, but together. One night, Jason sat on the couch, exhausted, his hands covered in grease. Homework papers scattered across the floor. Mia walked in, holding her rabbit, and said, "You don't have to try so hard, you know." Jason raised an eyebrow. "I want to get it right." She sat beside him. "You already are." It started like any other Tuesday. Jason dropped Mia at school. She waved at him, half smile, rabbit tucked in her backpack. The kind of goodbye that says, "See you later, Dad." He returned to the shop, changed oil, tuned up his Chevy, checked the clock. 3:15. He usually picked her up by 3:30, but when he pulled up, she wasn't there. Backpack. And rabbit. He waited. 10 minutes, point 20. Then he walked into the office. She never came in today. The receptionist said she wasn't marked present in any class. Jason felt his stomach twist. Hard. He called the adoption officer, then the principal, then the police, and no one had answers. Was she taken? Did she run? Was this about the biological parents? His hands trembled. This wasn't just worry. This was terror. He wasn't losing her. Not now. Not after everything. And just as he was about to drive around the neighborhood, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He picked up. Is this Mr. Miller? A shaky voice asked. It was Mia. Jason nearly dropped the phone. Mia? Where are you? Are you okay? Silence. He could hear her breathing, fast and uneven. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to scare you. I just couldn't go to school today. Jason's heart pounded harder. Where are you, sweetheart? The park. The one near the gas station. He jumped in a truck and sped there, didn't care about red lights, didn't care about rules. Only one thing mattered. Mia. When he pulled up, she was sitting alone on the swing, backpack open, rabbit in her lap. She didn't run to him. She didn't cry. She just looked ashamed. Jason knelt down in front of her. Mia. What happened? She looked away. It was picture day. He blinked. Okay, I don't have a dress or shoes that match. I didn't want to be the girl everyone laughs at. Her voice cracked. And I didn't want to tell you. Because you've done enough already. You buy me food. You take me to school. You give me a bed. I didn't want you to think I'm needy. Jason felt like the world stopped spinning for a second. Not because she skipped school, but because even now, she didn't believe she was worth asking for it. He didn't say anything. Just pulled her into a hug so tight, her rabbit almost fell. Mia, he said gently, you never have to earn love. Never. That's not how love works. You could ask me for the moon, and I try to find a way to hang it in your window. She finally cried. Not the quiet tears, the ones that come from years of holding everything in. And Jason just held her, because sometimes the best thing a father can do is show up and say nothing at all. The next day, Jason woke up with a plan that he didn't tell Mia. Just pack her lunch, kiss her forehead, and drop her at school. Then he drove straight to Main Street, past the auto parts store, past the diner, until he stopped at a little boutique with a red sale sign in the window. Inside, on a headless mannequin, with a light blue dress, soft lace sleeves, satin ribbon around the waist, it wasn't fancy. But it was her. He bought it. Shoes too, even a little silver clip shaped like a moon. The clerk smiled. For your daughter? Jason hesitated for a second, then smiled back. Yes, my daughter. That evening, he picked her up from school, told her to close her eyes when they got home, peeking. She giggled. Just a little. That he led her into the apartment, hands over her eyes, then placed a box in front of her. Okay now. Mia opened it slowly, then gasped. Is this for me? Jason nodded. You deserve to feel beautiful, Mia. Not just on picture day. Every day. She didn't speak for a while, just ran her fingers across the fabric, then whispered, no one's ever thought of me like that before. Jason knelt down, looked her in the eyes. Get used to it. Because I think about you every second of every day. That's what dads do. That weekend, they took pictures, not at school, not with a photographer, just the two of them. A cheap camera, a park bench, a backdrop of golden leaves. Mia wore the dress, her rabbit in one hand, Jason's hand in the other. She smiled. Not the kind you put on for pictures, the kind that finally believes, I matter. It was parent-teacher conference week. Jason hadn't been inside a classroom in nearly 20 years. He felt out of place. Oil-stained hands, worn-out flannel, nervous heart. Mia's teacher, Mrs. Hawkins, greeted him with a smile. Mr. Miller, I've been hoping to meet you. Jason scratched his neck. Is that a good thing? She laughed. It's a wonderful thing. Then she pulled out a small folder. Inside were drawings, journal entries, spelling tests, but the back, tucked quietly behind a stack of papers, were notes, handwritten, slipped into desks, some anonymous, some signed, M. Jason read one. You're not weird. You're just different, and different is cool. Another, if today's too hard, pretend tomorrow already started. Tomorrow is a fresh page. And another, I didn't have anyone before, but I do now, and I believe in you. Jason looked up, stunned up Mrs. Hawkins smiled warmly. She leaves them for other kids. Ones who sit alone, ones who get teased. And no one asked her to. She just started doing it. Jason's throat tightened. She never told me. That's because she's not doing it to be seen, that she's doing it because she knows what it feels like to be invisible. That night at dinner, Jason looked at Mia differently. Not because she had changed, but because she had grown. She wasn't just healing. She was becoming a healer. He reached across the table. You're changing the world, you know that? She tilted her head. One note at a time, she said with a grin. The night was quiet. Rain tapped against the window. Mia was curled up on the couch, reading a library book. Jason sat across from her, staring into his coffee. He'd been thinking about something all day. Since the parent-teacher meeting, since those notes. Mia, he said softly. She looked up. Yeah? He paused. Can I tell you something I've never told anyone? She closed her book immediately. Eyes wide, focused, of course. He leaned back, took a breath. When I was your age, maybe 7 or 8, I used to wait by the window for my dad to come home. Every night, same spot. Mia sat up straighter. One night, he didn't come. The next night, same but a week later, we found out he'd left. Just left. New family, new life. Never looked back. Mia's eyes softened. Jason continued. I remember asking my mom if I did something wrong, that if maybe I broke something or was too loud. You know what she said? Mia shook her head slowly. Some people leave because they're lost inside themselves, and sometimes they leave good people behind when they do. He rubbed his eyes. I spent most of my life thinking I wasn't enough for a dad, for a wife, for a family. Mia got up, walked across the room, and sat beside him. You are enough. You've always been enough. He looked at her. And so are you. Kiddo, we didn't find each other by accident. We were both a little broken, but together, we fit just right. That night, they didn't say much more. They didn't need to, because sometimes healing doesn't come from fixing the past, that it comes from sharing it. It arrived on a Thursday. Plain envelope. No return address. Just Jason's name, handwritten in uneven letters. He almost tossed it. Looked like junk mail, but something made him open it. Inside was a letter, and a photo that Jason's hands went cold. The photo showed Mia, maybe 4 years old, standing barefoot in a yard, torn dress, mud on her cheeks, smiling, but not the kind of smile a child should wear, the kind that hides pain. The letter read, I heard she's with you now. That girl. She's not right in the head. She's trouble. Just thought you should know. No name, no contact, just poison on paper. Jason stared at the words. His hands tightened into fists, his chest burned. Not with fear. With fury, he thought about burning it. But then he heard footsteps. Mia. She walked into the kitchen, rabbit in hand. What's that? She asked, pointing to the letter. Jason froze. He didn't want her to see it. But he also didn't want he knelt beside her. Held the letter out. Someone from your past. Someone who didn't deserve to know you. She read it slowly, silent. Then looked up. They're wrong. Jason blinked. What? They're wrong. She repeated, firmer now. I'm not trouble. I am loved. You showed me that. Jason's heart cracked open. That's right, kid. And you never have to believe their lies again. Not while I'm around. She hugged him hard, tighter than usual, because deep down, even when we heal, the scars remember. But scars also remind us we survived. It started with a whisper that Mia's art teacher pulled Jason aside during a school open house. Have you seen her sketches? She asked. Jason blinked. Sketches? The teacher smiled, pulled out a folder. Page after page of incredible pencil drawings. Landscapes, faces, animals full of emotion. Real talent. Raw, untrained, but brilliant. There's a fine art school in Chicago, she said. They have a scholarship program. Mia could audition. She has a real shot. Jason stared at the drawings. He had no idea that she'd drawn their apartment, his workbench, even the swing where she used to sit in silence. The audition's next month, the teacher added, but she'll need materials. A portfolio. Travel. Jason nodded slowly. thanked her, took the folder home. That night, he sat in the garage quiet, thinking. Chicago was 4 hours away, he'd have to miss work. Art supplies weren't cheap, gas, food, maybe even hotel, and he'd been saving for new shop equipment. Things that would double his productivity. He stared at the sketches again. Then at a sticky note on the wall, drawn by Mia months ago, a crooked heart with the words, "Love lives here." He smiled, decision made. The next morning, he walked into Mia's room. "We're going to Chicago," he said with a grin. Mia blinked. "Wait, what? Why?" He handed her the folder. "Because it's time the world saw what I see." She stared at the pages like she'd never really believed they mattered, then looked up. "Are you sure? What about work? The garage?" He knelt beside her. "The garage can wait. You're the masterpiece." She threw her arms around him, tears in her eyes. Not because he said yes, but because, for the first time in her life, someone believed in her enough to sacrifice. Jason had never been to Chicago to owe him. Cities were loud, crowded, full of one-way streets and too many horns. But Mia, she pressed her face to the car window like she was watching a movie come alive. "It's so big," she whispered. "It smells like everything." Jason laughed. "That's just hot dogs and exhaust fumes." They stayed in a tiny motel on the edge of the city, .1 room. 2 beds, and no cable. But Mia didn't care. She sat on the floor, organizing her sketches, talking about shading, composition, contrast, words Jason didn't know, but loved hearing. She was nervous, tried to hide it, but he could tell. That night, she barely slept. Jason didn't either. He stared at the ceiling, wondering, what if she's not ready? What if they don't see what I see? What if this breaks her? But deep down, he knew. She didn't need to win to prove her worth. She already had. The next morning, the art school was a glass building that looked like a museum. Mia clutched her sketch folder with both hands. Jason knelt down. "No matter what happens in there, this doesn't define you, that you're already amazing." She nodded, tried to smile, then walked inside. Jason waited in the lobby. 1 hour. 2 felt like forever. When she finally walked out, he stood instantly. "How'd it go?" Mia shrugged, bit her lip. I did okay. They said they'd call next week." Jason smiled. "Well, I didn't roll you on the spot." She chuckled, rolled her eyes. "You're biased. I'm a dad. I'm supposed to be." They walked back into the city, not saying much, just holding hands, like the silence itself was a kind of celebration, because whatever the result, they'd already won something bigger: courage. The ride back home was quieter than the ride there. Mia stared out the window, sketchbook in her lap, flipping pages, not drawing. Jason kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror. She wasn't sad, just still. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Yeah, just thinking." "About what?" "About how big the world is and how small I still feel in it." Jason didn't have a clever answer. He just reached over and squeezed her hand. Small things still make the biggest difference. You made a whole room stop and listen. That's not small, kiddo. That's power. Back home, life returned to its routine. Jason went back to work. Oil changes, tire rotations, grease under his nails, but his ears stayed sharp. Waiting for the phone, Mia went back to school, but she checked the house phone every day after class. And every night, her eyes would flick to it over dinner, silent. Hopeful. Jason finally bought her a calendar. They circled the end of the week. "If they're going to call," he said, "it'll be by then." Friday came and no call. Jason watched Mia try to hide it, tried to act like it didn't sting, but he saw it in her eyes, that old fear. Maybe I'm not good enough. That night, he made hot cocoa, even added marshmallows. She didn't drink it. "They forgot about me," she whispered. Jason sat beside her. "I didn't forget. And if they pass on you, that's their loss. You don't need their stamp of approval to be special." Mia gave a small smile, the kind that says, "Thanks for trying." Then the phone rang. They both froze. .1 ring. .2. Jason picked it up. Mia stood across the room, holding her breath. "Hello." "Yes, this is him." His eyes widened slightly. Then he looked at her and smiled. Yes, she's here. I'll put you on." He handed her the phone. "It's them." Mia stared at it like it was glowing, then put to her ear, "Hello?" A pause. Then her eyes filled with tears, but this time they were the good kind. Mia sat frozen, phone to her ear, eyes glassy. Jason watched her lips part, then slowly curl upward. She mouthed the words, "I got in." The air left Jason's lungs, not in shock, but in pride in awe. She listened a moment longer, nodding, barely breathing, then whispered, thank you so much." When she hung up, she didn't speak, just walked straight into Jason's arms. He held her. "You did it." She nodded into his chest. "They said I got the scholarship, full ride, supplies, even a dorm spot." Jason blinked. Dorm. That meant leaving. Leaving this apartment, their small kitchen, the garage mornings, story nights that team in changed. He smiled anyway. "That's incredible, Mia. You earned every bit of it." She looked up at him. "But it's in Chicago. I'd have to live there." The words hung in the air like fog. That night was quiet, and OTV and music. Just thoughts. Mia didn't bring it up again. Neither did Jason, because sometimes the hardest conversations aren't about what's wrong. They're about what's right, but still hurts. Jason stood in the garage, staring at her old bike. The one he fixed when she first moved in. She was smaller then, quieter, afraid. Now she was brave enough to chase dreams that required goodbyes. He walked into her room. "If you want to go," he said gently, "you have my blessing." She looked at him, eyes wide. "Even if it means we're not together every day?" "Mia, loving you means helping you fly, even if it means I have to let go of your hand." She covered her mouth. "But I don't want to leave you." "You're not," he whispered. "You're just growing, and I'll always be right here, no matter how far you go." The days passed faster than either of them expected. Acceptance papers arrived. Orientation schedule, dorm checklist. Jason didn't say much, but every evening after Mia went to bed, he disappeared into the garage, sawdust in his hair, grease on his hands. Heart full of something he couldn't explain, that he worked for hours, quiet, focused, until one night, Mia snuck downstairs. She peeked through the crack in the garage door. He didn't see her, but she saw it. A wooden box, small, handcrafted, the kind you don't buy in stores. She didn't ask, he didn't tell. The day before she left, Jason handed it to her. "Don't open it now," he said. "Wait until your first night in the dorm." She raised an eyebrow. "You're not even going to give me a hint?" "Nope, but when you open it, you'll know exactly what it means." She tucked it into her bag like it was made of gold. That night, they had their final dinner at home. Grilled cheese. Tomato soup. Simple. Familiar. Jason wasn't a man of long speeches, but after the dishes were cleared, he looked her in the eyes. "You changed me, Mia. I didn't think I was meant for love again. Then you walked into my life, quiet, scared, with a broken rabbit in your arms, and somehow, you fixed me." She blinked fast, swallowed hard. "You were always meant for love, Dad. You just needed someone to remind you how it felt." The next morning, they drove back to Chicago. Same highway. Same red bricks, but this time, a new beginning. When they reached the dorm, Jason helped carry her things, bed sheets, sketchbooks, rabbit. She stood in the doorway of her room, holding the keys in one hand and her past in the other. "Are you going to be okay?" she asked. Jason smiled. "As long as I know you're out there being exactly who you're meant to be, I'll be better than okay." That night, Mia sat on her dorm bed, alone for the first time in years. She opened the wooden box. Inside, a small drawing, .2 stick figures holding hands, .1 tall, .1 small, and beneath it, carved into the wood, "No matter where you go, this will always be home." Mia's new life started with fluorescent lights, white walls, and strangers who didn't know her story. Art school wasn't like home, and warm cocoa, and rabbit jokes, and Jason humming out of tune in the kitchen. Here, the students were bold, confident. Some had been painting since preschool. Others had private tutors, portfolios with gallery stamps that Mia's hands trembled the first time she walked into the studio. The air smelled like turpentine and ambition. She chose an easel near the window, opened her sketchbook, but suddenly every drawing looked small. "Maybe I don't belong here," she thought that night. She FaceTimed Jason. He was in the garage, same flannel, coffee in hand. "How's the big city treating you?" he asked. She smiled weakly. "It's loud." and fast. And everyone here seems like they already know who they are. Jason sipped his coffee. You know who you are too, you're the girl who survived. The girl who made broken things beautiful, and the only one brave enough to tell the truth when scared her. She blinked, nodded, wrote that last sentence down in her notebook. The next day, they were assigned a live drawing exercise. Everyone else sketched with expensive charcoal sets. Mia? She used her favorite pencil, the one Jason gave her 2 Christmases ago. The model sat. The timer began. She started drawing point one line, then another, until her hands stopped shaking, until the room disappeared, until all she could hear was Jason's voice in her head. You're not trying to impress anyone, you're telling a story only you can tell. When class ended, the professor walked by her canvas, he stopped, looked again. Who did this? Mia raised her hand, nervous. He didn't smile, he didn't praise, he just said, don't lose that. Technique can be taught, but that heart, that's rare. That night, she opened her wooden box again, ran her fingers over the carved words. This will always be home. She whispered to the quiet room, I'm going to make you proud, Dad. And somehow, even across 4 hours of highway, he heard her. 2 months into her first semester, Mia was thriving. Her work was being noticed. Professors were calling her the quiet storm. A gallery downtown even displayed one of her charcoal portraits. Jason had printed the article and taped it to the fridge. He told everyone, customers, neighbors, even the delivery guy, that's my girl. That's my Mia. Then came the email. Subject line, selected for international arts residency, Paris, France. Mia stared at the screen. Read it once, twice. IT was real. 4 students have been chosen from over 100 submissions. All expenses paid. 4 weeks in Paris. Workshops, exhibits, press coverage. This wasn't just BIG. IT was life-changing. But then she saw the dates. June 14th, July 12th. Her heart dropped. That was the week of Jason's anniversary. 3 years since he adopted her. The day they always spent. Together, they'd already made plans. Drive to the lake. Cook over a fire. Talk about everything and nothing. IT was their day. She called him that night. Hey, Dad, what's up, superstar? I got an offer for a residency in Paris. Silence. Paris? He asked softly. Yeah. But the dates? Our anniversary. Jason didn't hesitate. Mia, listen to me. Our anniversary isn't about the day, that it's about what we mean to each other. I mean this, if you've been given a key to the next door, open it. Don't stay behind for my sake. But what if I miss something important? You won't, because no matter where you go, I go with you. Her throat tightened. I don't want to hurt you. You couldn't if you tried. That night, she packed her bags, not just for Paris, but for the next version of herself. And on the inside cover of her sketchbook, she wrote 4 words. This began with him. Paris was everything they said it would be. Cobbled streets. Light that felt golden even on cloudy days. Artists painting by the river. Old buildings that whispered stories in every cracked brick. Mia walked through it all with wide eyes and a quiet heart. She had a room in a centuries-old building with a balcony. The studio smelled like fresh canvas and ancient dust, but she felt a strange weight. Not sadness, not fear, just hollowness. Each morning she sketched with focus. Each evening she wandered the streets alone, and every night she opened her wooden box, traced the carving again and again. This will always be home. One afternoon, they were asked to create a piece titled, Where You Come From. The other artists painted cities, childhoods, trauma, tradition. Mia just sat there, frozen. She didn't know what to draw. Not because she didn't have a past, but because for the first time, she was realizing how much of it had been rewritten. Her past wasn't only pain anymore. That IT was healing. That IT was Jason. That night, in a moment of homesick courage, she called him. That IT was early morning in the States. He picked up immediately. Hey, you. Her voice cracked. I'm supposed to draw where I come from, and I don't know how. There was a pause. Then, softly, close your eyes. She did. Now think of the garage. The night you got your first bike fixed. Think of grilled cheese. Picture the sticky notes he used to leave on my dashboard. Remember the time I found you sleeping in a pile of sketches. She laughed gently through the tears. That's where you come from, Mia. Not a place, but a feeling US. The next morning, Mia walked into the studio with fire in her chest. She didn't draw a city. She didn't draw her childhood. She drew a kitchen table, the workbench point, two chairs, and a little girl handing a man a folded paper. In the corner, she added one line in pencil. Home is the person who stays.